And before I go, I just want to say it matters not what you've done, but what you do with what you've done for others.
June 30, 1951. Corey Krylov woke up at 76 p.m. in 4921 Ozukena Road, Woodland Hills, California. This was not his home. He decided to go make his favorite beverage.
I don't know about you, but I like to start my day with a warm cup of salted water.
But after stirring the salt in his water, he noticed something that caught his attention. The salt sat at the bottom. Unable to change the destiny of the undissolving salt after hours of waiting, Corey Krylov realized what this meant. The water was non-polar. Step 5 of the WikiHow article, How to Determine the Polarity of a Molecule, states that a dipole exists when electrons are unevenly distributed from one side of the molecule to the other. If this is present, then the molecule is polar. If the distribution looks even, the molecule is nonpolar. And for once, that makes WikiHow seem slightly credible, because, according to famous scientists Fred Vine and Drummond Matthews, who state the law, a polar molecule is one that has one end that is slightly positive and the other end that is slightly negative. Polar molecules are formed where the electronegativity of the bonded atoms differs. When electrons are exchanged equally between atoms in a diatomic molecule, or when polar bonds in a larger molecule cancel each other out, nonpolar molecules form. But according to famous internet personality Corey Krylov,
Awe is not a science.
Wise words to live by.
But
It's actually quite important that polar and nonpolar molecules stay the way they are. Water is a polar and covalent molecule. The two hydrogen atoms are not evenly distributed around the oxygen atom. The unequal sharing of electrons between the atoms and the unsymmetrical shape of the molecule means that a water molecule has two poles, a positive charge on the hydrogen pole and a negative charge on the oxygen pole. We say that water molecule is electrically polar. If water was nonpolar, one terrible example would be that the density of ice would also increase, because of the lack of hydrogen bonds that creates an open crystal structure of ice that makes it less dense than liquid water. Cold water would continue to get denser as it got near 0 degrees Celsius, and once it turned solid, it would be denser than the liquid phase, so it would sink into the water. Truly, some unimaginable horrifying global catastrophe covering the world in ice. Would make for a great movie starring Chris Evans.
I said sit down!
Have you ever seen a group of children playing with a toy? Sometimes they share toys equally, and other times one child takes the toy away from the other. Chemical bonding is comparable to how the children interact with toys in some ways. Nonpolar covalent bonds are a type of bond that occurs when two atoms share a pair of electrons with each other. These shared electrons glue two or more atoms together to form a molecule. Like children who share toys, atoms involved in nonpolar covalent bonds usually share electrons. Nonpolar bonds are typically just as important as their more popular twin. They help to make up our living cells and form the oxygen we breathe. A peptide bond is a type of nonpolar covalent link that is particularly significant in biology. A peptide bond is a chemical connection that connects chains of amino acids, which are used to make proteins. Carbon, oxygen, nitrogen, hydrogen, and even sulfur are among the atoms that make up amino acids. There is no net electrical charge across a molecule when molecules distribute electrons equally in a covalent link. The electrons in a nonpolar covalent connection are uniformly distributed. When atoms have the same or similar electronegativity, nonpolar molecules are predicted to form. Even though the only genuine nonpolar molecules are those produced with identical atoms, if the electronegativity difference between two atoms is less than 0.5, the bond is called nonpolar. When atoms sharing a polar connection organize themselves in such a way that their electrical charge cancel each other out, nonpolar molecules develop. Let's take a look at ethylene. Ethylene is the first identified plant hormone known to regulate numerous processes in plant growth, development, and response to biotic and abiotic stresses. Its formula is C2H4. It's the simplest alkene. Because it contains a double bond in the center and 4 evenly distributed hydrogens on the side, its symmetry makes it a nonpolar molecule. To prove this, let me show you that a great man on YouTube once told me,
sulfur hexabromide. All of the outer elements are identical. This molecule is also nonpolar.
But as interesting as the voice of organic chemistry teacher was, an even greater man told me,
what's the viewer retention?
well, this video garnered over 1.4 million views and 731 comments. Let's take a look at some of these gems.
This guy sounds just as excited about this as I feel. Why did I go into chem? I learned more in the 7 minutes video than I did in 3 weeks of class. Thanks a million! You explained in 8 minutes and my teacher couldn't explain in 2 hours. Half of the class were literally sleeping on their desks. POV. You're suicidal.
Hi, I'm Sleeve McDykel, producer, dreamer, confident woman, and I used to be just like you. If you're watching this, that means this is your daily reminder that
Identity theft is not a joke, Jim.
it's late at night on a cool summer day in 2012. You're playing Minecraft at 2 a.m. and your family is asleep. What a wonderful time to be a child. An electrostatic interaction between a charged ion and a molecule that has a dipole just resulted in an ion-dipole interaction. But right now, you might be wondering, why are we talking about this today? In the midst of scouring for facts about molecular polarity, I came across an article written by a person named Nothing. Their explanation for molecule polarity was intertwined with their definition for ion-dipole interactions. You see, polar molecules are formed when two atoms in a covalent connection do not share electrons equally. A dipole arises when one half of the molecule has a slight positive charge and the other has a slight negative charge. This occurs when the electronegativity values of the individual atoms diverge. An ion-dipole interaction is more powerful than hydrogen bonding. An ion-dipole force occurs when the positive and negative charges of an ion and a polar molecule align so that they are adjacent to one another, allowing for maximal attraction. Between polar water molecules and a sodium ion, ion-dipole forces are formed. You know, the current state of molecule polarity is something inexplicably and terrifyingly important, and you'll never know why until it's changed. The salts that can't dissolve, no more breathable oxygen, benzene that melts instantly. There are as many cases like this as there are molecules. And the beauty of the internet is that we're able to share stories and theories that terrify us and have no real consequences.